All right, guys, welcome back. Another edition of Build Your Legacy here. Bill,
Yeah.
how are you, man?
I'm good. Welcome back to Jacksonville.
I'm back. I always love coming to Jacksonville. You know, it reminds me of Fayetteville so much.
Yeah, especially when the weather's good. No, I'm just joking. That was a shout out for Allie. So she doesn't.
Allie loves when we talk about the weather, right? You know,
So there's songs about that with old men talking about weather.
It's a sign we're getting old, man. Speaking of which,
I had to at least throw that in there.
Yeah, my wife was making fun of me the other day. Speaking of getting old, you know, I sent a picture to her for something, and I was with a younger one of our employees in the picture. And, you know, first thing she said was, "Gosh, you look old. Look at all that gray in your beard." And I was like, man, and like I hadn't really paid attention to it. And it was just one of those drastic, because, you know, this guy, his name's Walker. Walker's about 13 years younger than me. And I was like, oh gosh, you can really see it. So that's not what I see when I look in the mirror, though. You know, I still think I'm 25.
Like, this is what kids do. Maybe it's what dance. You can be like, hey, this is what dance does to me.
Dance does to me. This, you know, this is what everything
Or
does.
coaching, pulling out my hair from coaching T-ball, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, I think it's a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
You know,
See, mine is I'm just losing it. I'm pulling mine out for my kids, right?
Yeah. You know, that's one thing, knock on wood, I haven't, you know, had the fortune of doing. Now, again, just telling stories, you know, when I was in high school playing football my senior year, I wanted to grow my hair out long. And my dad said, no, we're not doing that. So I went the opposite route and shaved it completely. And my mom lost her mind and said that I was going to be bald before I was 40. So
Because you cut your hair.
Because I shaved my head, and I was, joke's on you, Mom. I still got a nice full head of it up here.
You were preserving it. See, that's what it was. Like, let's not damage my hair right now.
Yeah, that's exactly. So
Maybe you're the key to it. Maybe you found
maybe I found
key.
the way. Yeah, start selling that.
Save your hair when you're young, so you have it when you're old.
Bottle that up, sell it. That'll be my get rich quick scheme.
Yeah, maybe one of those things. Hey, the sun messes up the hair. Get it out. Like, let's not do it.
Don't start letting it get hurt till you're in your 20s.
There you go. Well, I tell you, that's one thing we are not experts at.
No, not at all. So, well, hey, you know, we've kicked off our growth series here, and so one of the things that we wanted to get on and talk about today was you're that agency owner, you're that agent looking to step out and start your own agency, or heck, you're a producer in an agency, and you're looking to find growth, right? You're looking to generate organic growth. And we really wanted to talk about ways to do that. Stop chasing transactions, right? Start building relationships. That's the key to finding growth.
And probably one of the hardest concepts for people. They know they should do that.
Right.
They know it. What happens is just the phone rings and they're like, yeah,
gotta do this.
And you're like, hold on. You know,
let's talk about transactions to start, right? Why conducting business that way isn't the right way to go about it, right? You know, because first and foremost, those transactions, they're not sustainable, because when that phone rings, to your example, it's never the same time. It's not, you know, it's not repeatable in some ways, right? So, you know, that's one, is it's not a sustainable growth model by going the transaction route.
And I say this loosely, you know, I have seen some really good agents that know how to drive inbound leads.
Right. Yeah.
And that wouldn't be as transactional because they know what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Correct.
They have a purpose behind it. Mm-hmm. It's not just a transaction and moving on to the next thing. So I kind of joke about the phone ringing because most people don't drive inbound leads that are the leads that you want. They're the leads that are in distress that find you.
Right. I mean, I would say that this transaction we're speaking to can be the client that is picking up the phone calling you because they just got a renewal in the mail.
Yep.
And they saw a rate increase. It could be the client walking in the door, you know, because of a rate increase, or because they need to go buy a vehicle and they don't have insurance currently. It could be that contractor, you know, going, hey, I need to get coverage in place before this upcoming payday.
I need a certificate.
Because I need a certificate, right? And
those, then I cancel it after I get paid.
Right. And those are they're not repeatable. They're not scalable.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I think we need to touch on what are ways to create repeatable, scalable business opportunities for a producer and agency. And I think it starts first and foremost with the right relationships.
Yeah.
Right. And building the right relationships and then multiplying those relationships to create that flow.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, maybe you skipped a step, is before you go get the relationship, know what you're going to be doing. You need to know what you're good at. You need to know what you do. Practice, right? Get good at things. And to your point, then it's like, okay, now go get the meaningful relationship with your expertise or what you're going to do.
I think that's a fair point. I think it starts with identifying your ideal client first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I think that's the beauty of being independent agents. We get to pick and choose who we work with. We don't have a quote unquote master pushing people to us, deciding who our client is.
No, for sure. We don't.
And so we can pick and choose, and, we can decide who we want to work with in the marketplace. And to your point there, once we know what we're going to do, know who we want to work with, then we can hone in on the right centers of influence to help create that scalability and repeat business opportunity.
Pick on just a couple really simple examples that are probably in every single community, really, no matter what size a community is.
Yeah.
And let's just think about personal lines and commercial lines. Okay. Is if you're a personal lines agent, not to say you shouldn't have a relationship with the Chamber of Commerce and those businesses, but it may not yield you the same results.
Right.
If you're a commercial lines focused agent and you know what you're doing and you want all the businesses in your town, the Chamber of Commerce in your town is a perfect center of influence, to your point. On the flip side, if you are personal lines, perfect one could easily be that realtor or that mortgage broker that's focused on personal items that they're building those relationships with, so y'all can work together. So I do think it means something. If you're just a personal lines agent, don't spend all your time at business events and building those relationships with people that are business items.
Right.
You want to focus more on the personal asset
side.
items.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, real estate agents, mortgage brokers, I would even say if you're personal lines oriented, select car dealerships or finance
car dealers, boat
departments.
dealers, CPAs, wealth advisors.
I was going to say, even life and health, and if you want to do some I would say senior citizens, even the Medicare, Medicaid style professionals in the marketplace. Those are all great resources to develop relationships with.
Right.
Because if the other side to this, going back to building these relationships, sometimes you've got to give before you can take. And if you know, part of being a good center of influence is also providing clients with resources to help other needs that might not be insurance related, right?
Absolutely.
So if you've got a client who's got aging parents and they're getting to that Medicare, Medicaid, and you've got a relationship that is great to share, by all means, having that resource there to where you can pay it forward it will help strengthen and create a better center of influence.
Understand where you're at, what you're doing, what your niche is, so to speak. Again, not to say you can't have multiple, because you can.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think if you get spread too thin, then you're like, well, I'm just running all over the place and just trying to figure it out. And you're really not that good at anything because you're wasting all your time driving to and from everywhere.
Right.
So,
well, and part of this is, as you're building these centers of influence, you have to make it a priority to strengthen that relationship itself, right? You can't just you can't say, "Hey, Bill, send me business," and then never see Bill again, right? You've got to strengthen. You've got to work on that relationship as if they are a client in some ways, right? Because part of this is you're educating, you're teaching. We had Andy Neary come and do some stuff for us previously within SIA of North Carolina. And Andy's always like, give away the farm. Tell them who you are.
Tell them everything.
Tell them everything. I mean, I think that's part of what you're doing with these relationships is you're giving away the farm to help them tell others your value.
I do think it goes back to, the center of influence side of things. I mean, I think that's key. Commercial lines, there's a ton of good centers of influence as well. But if you are not writing contractors, why are you going to the home builders? Yeah, and you see that. But if you're all in on home builders, do that. They may not be at the Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
So choose one and go on to your point, build that relationship, start giving things in return versus spreading yourself out where, your prospects aren't at.
Well, to your point, if you spread yourself too thin, right, and it's probably a little more commercially than personally, right? But if you spread yourself too thin, and to your point, if you get a contractor and then you get a restaurant and then you get a wholesaler, and you're touching completely different things.
Yeah, you are.
And so you're never going to become that expert.
No.
Right. And so it's going to limit the value you can bring to the client. But the other side of it is it's going to be tough to build relationships with your carriers because they're not all wanting to do the same thing. And so then you start looking at, hey, are we really delivering on our promise as a center of influence for that referral partner by bringing value to them and their clients? If you don't know what you're doing, if you're not scaling and growing, it can really hamper you, right? So,
yeah, and I think don't just be transactional.
Right. Don't be a number at the bottom of the spreadsheet.
And that can go so many different ways.
Yeah.
I mean, even in commercial lines, you may look at it and go, man, this is a good contractor. I don't do contractors, but this is a good contractor. Mm-hmm. I need to do this. Well, if you're not built to do certificates of insurance and this contractor needs 100 a month, well, that's going to be an issue for you.
Yes.
Now, there's other agents that are great at doing that and have the process and the systems and the IT and all that cool stuff to get you what you need. That's not a transaction for them. They know what they're doing and they can repeat it over and over, and they want to repeat it over and over.
They're built for it.
But even a transaction could be something that's bigger unless you take that one off and go, okay, let me learn and let me do it, let me replicate it. But just checking the box as a transaction, it could kill your time.
Well, and I'd say the other point of that, you mentioned repeatable, right? On the service side, that's a big thing with certain risk, right? But then even from an experience for a client, right? No client will ever get the same experience if it's strictly transactional. That limits your ability to build out your process, your team, your agency to create a repeatable process that's scalable.
Right.
Right. And so that's going to hamper your growth as an organization as a whole and how much you can help others grow within your organization. So I think, know what you're doing, have the processes in place to create a repeatable experience altogether on the front end and the back end for your ideal client, whoever it might be.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to, we do talk about centers of influence. We do talk about centers of influence. Mm-hmm. We think it's a big deal. But if you're just doing a good job and you get in the right doors and they know you're doing the right job, there's referrals directly from your consumer, right? From your paying client. Like, man, you know what you're doing. Whether it's, what you're doing in homeowners, great. Like, let me give you my neighbor.
Right.
Or what you're doing in my business. I've got a user group that could use you as well. So if you get it where it's not just a transaction to the buyer, there's also referrals that can be done there and you repeat that.
100%. Some of the best centers of influence for, people are their existing clients.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be that other professional. It doesn't have to be, if you're a commercial agent, it doesn't have to be the State Farm or agent potentially, right? Whatever it might be, it can be your existing client base.
Some of the stuff you hit on is building those relationships. Some of mine have a purpose.
Yeah. Well,
I think if you have a purpose and you have relationships, it doesn't become a transaction anymore. It becomes repeatable and something that you're constantly doing.
I think you talk about it all the time within our organization, and I've heard you talk about it at some of our SIA of North Carolina events. It starts with being intentional.
Yeah.
Right. And it starts with it starts with being intentional in everything you do every day. In whether it's your client experience, ideal prospect, carrier relationships, centers of influence. If you're intentional in these pieces, it's going to allow you to be more than that number at the end of the day.
Yep. Just don't fall off. What happens is that one transaction falls you off because then it takes away from what you're doing. I always tell my team, it's the opportunity cost. You do something, you can't do something else. And the problem is you get in the trap of you take that one transaction, you don't do what you should have been doing, and you're like, man, then that kind of slowly falls to the wayside, and then you just become a transaction agent. And you're like, I don't know what happened to me the last month, the last year.
Right, because it's not repeatable.
Yeah.
So if you take one thing away from this, it's been another podcast: relationships with the right people.
You hit it, man.
All right.
All right.
Well, we'll get back down here to Jacksonville soon. Do another one.
Yeah. Hit the buttons for liking and subscribing, and give us more topics.
Please do.
But we appreciate you.
See you guys.
Thanks for tuning in. You can catch our Build Your Legacy Insurance Edition podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, or send us over a topic recommendation at podcast@siaofnc.com. If you're interested in learning more about what we do, visit us online at www.siaofnc.com. We hope you enjoyed our newest episode. See you next week.